Alright, it is happening. I didn't really want to make a video about this at all. I wanted to keep it as simple as my comment, which I made on Gopher's video, which you can see on screen right now. But the issue has got out of hand, but I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible and as professional as I can. Now, currently, there's a petition with over 112,000 supporters already signed, which is kind of showing you how the community is responding to this incident. Now, there's a lot of pros and cons when it comes to this overall, so let's just dive in and go straight into the pros of this issue. The first one I can think of is there is more time for dedicated authors now to place more passion into their work, because quite frankly, if they are getting paid to make mods, they can probably spend less time working real life jobs and more of that time into their craft. Because let's face it, if a mod author can make a great, wonderful, high quality mod while working a real life job, imagine what they could do with their time if they had abundantly more of it to spend simply making mods. There's two ways this could go down though when you think about it. One, they could start slacking off and the mods could actually get worse. Two, they could essentially put more love into their mods and they could come out much better or much larger. Regardless of how you're looking at this, even that itself could be a pro or a con, but let's just keep it as a pro for now. The next one would be, there's more incentive for bigger, higher quality mods, simply because people, especially the authors, are thinking, well, if we can get paid for this now, we should make a bigger mod. We should make our mods higher quality, because essentially we can charge for them now, which is cool, I can understand that. And some people wouldn't have a problem paying for mods if they were supreme, like a DLC type quality level, maybe like Livestylegaming, for example. Because if you're going to get many hours out of it, I can see why some people are willing to pay for it and why the author sees they should be paid for it. Because in that situation, it makes sense. But then again, Livestylegaming wasn't just made by one person, so it gets complicated how the shares are divided among each person who contributed to it. Because plenty of people did free voice work, for example, for Livestylegaming. So now, who gets the money for that? It's going to have to be split up, right? Because they volunteered, but did they volunteer for their voices to be used commercially? That is a different story altogether. You see what I mean? It's a bee's nest. It gets really complicated really fast. Now, for people such as moi, people who review mods, this is actually good news. I mention it under the pros because most people see this as good news, because for people like me, it means I can review mods that are paid and behind a paywall, and therefore we should get more traffic because people want to see the mods more than ever now reviewed. So people like me, Gopher, Slothability, Fireworm, InsaneOFlex, Slytra, the list goes on and on. Essentially, it should be good news for people like us. But I don't think it really is, because even though we'd get more traffic, we'd essentially have to buy each mod. Now, this is where it's really complicated. For normal people, if you're going to buy a mod, you will be pretty sure that you want to use that mod. Now, for people like me, Gopher, Slothability, etc., all us mod reviewers, that's not the case with us. We don't necessarily keep mods we review. We review mods impartially. We see a mod, we get a mod suggested to us, we review them impartially. Not because we think it looks good. Sometimes that's the case, but not always. We review them because we think that mod should be reviewed. But we don't keep them. Out of the... I've probably reviewed near 500 or more mods across all 200 and, well, near 300 episodes of Mod of the Day. And can you guess how many of those I kept? Not that many, because some of them lost the support along the way. Some of them had too many bugs eventually. Or some of them were good, but just not good enough for me to keep and basically make my load order too much of a mess and make scripts lag in the game. It just wasn't worth it. I wanted to keep it to a concise amount of mods, which most people do. I mean, some people do have tons and tons, but not me. I like to keep it under 50 mods, and most of those are texture mods. So for people like me and Gopher and such, of course it depends how much money you're receiving from your videos. But it becomes a point of, if we review so many mods, like say, if each, let's just say, for example, this is not the case, let's say each mod is $5 each, alright? If we reviewed 10 mods in, let's say, because I review about 7 a week, generally now. So, if we review, say we review 10 mods a week, that means it would cost us $50 a week just to actually review the mods. So that's $200 a month just to review the mods. Now, of course, you get traffic and AdSense back from that, right? But most likely, it depends on your views or people using programs and you watching on mobile, etc. You won't receive that $200 back. So you're now a net loss. I mean, you are growing your channel, but you need money to operate a service such as this. Because if you've got to spend money to actually review mods, you're taking money out of your own pocket just to review the mods, and that can create a massive decline in your own money over time, which would eventually stop you making videos, especially for smaller channels. So you can see where I'm going with this. So it just wouldn't make sense for, I mean, if you are like a 1 million subscriber channel, you can easily afford to waste hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on mods to review. People like me, and especially people like Slightrust, Slothability, Fireworm, that is not the case. Even I am not willing to spend loads of money on mods just for review purposes, because if I bought 20 mods in a 1 month period for, let's say again, the example of $200, I might keep 1 or 2 of those mods for my actual gameplay. So that means out of that $200, I've only kept $10 worth of mods and wasted $190. Sure, I've reviewed them, which is a good thing, but I'm essentially $190 down at the start, at least, and that's kind of bad for people like me, to say the least. And I don't think I'll be really reviewing those mods, but I'll get into that later. Now let's bring it to the cons, because there are plenty of cons. One being that mods will not grow as large when they are hidden behind a paywall. And trust me, I know this as a fact already, because there's plenty of mods out there which grew massively on the Nexus, and the MOTD and other sites like Lovers Lab or whatever it's called, all those sites. But they were based on being free mods, as mods have always been, essentially. They don't have to be, and I'll go into that later again, but right now, let's just keep it at that. They were free. Anyone could try it. Therefore, anyone could try it and eventually endorse it and say, this mod's really, really good. But this won't be the case anymore. If you release a mod, let's say if you released it free, let's say it would get 100,000 downloads, 50,000 endorsements by itself if it was free on a Nexus. Now, let's say you release it just on the Steam Workshop, and you're charging $5, $10 for it, because it's a good mod. That's why you get so many endorsements on the Nexus, if in that hypothetical case. You would probably not get nowhere near the amount. You would not get 100,000 downloads, unique downloads. You would not get that. Because you simply wouldn't. People would not be willing to pay that. Even be people like me reviewing them, you would not get that many buys, essentially. So, you're limiting how big and how well known your mod can become by placing it behind a paywall. You simply are. No matter which way you look at it, you are doing that. Now, there are some mods. I saw one, actually, thanks to Slothability. You can see it on screen right now, which was Midas Magic, which has been placed on Steam. You'll notice there's a free trial of the mod, essentially, and you get a 4% chance of a pop-up. That's right, a pop-up appearing in the game after casting newer spells in the actual mod. So you could be there casting a spell, bang, 4% chance, so that's roughly 1 in 20, or just less. Pops up a thing saying, buy now for no pop-ups, for uninterrupted gameplay. With all due respect to the author did say they're going to reduce that chance, but it's still stupid. I'm being honest, it's stupid, and I'll go into why that's stupid later on in this video. So if you are the author and you are hearing this, just hang with me. I'm not calling you stupid, I'm calling the system stupid, but you'll see why in a few minutes' time. Now, this is also dividing the community, as you can always tell. There's people who are for this, people who are against this. And that goes the same for the modders themselves, because now it's like a cutthroat business style between the modders. It's no longer a case of, yeah, I'll help you with your mod, I'll help you with your mod, you can use some of my assets, for example, but I don't mind. But now it becomes a case, like Gotham mentioned, like, well, I don't want you using my assets because you're going to make money off my assets, so that's my money. I want a cut from your mod. Whatever you make, I want a cut from it because you're using my assets. It's no longer a case of, yeah, you can use mine, bro, you're free to use them, go ahead, make a good mod, make people happy. Now it's like, no, I want some cut from this if you're going to use them, quite honestly, or because I don't see why you should make money off using my assets from my mod. And that is what I'm talking about. Plus, other ones will be trying, they've already tried it, and it's already happened, people copying mods or using assets from mods and uploading them to the workshop, and they've been removed, of course, and as such. And people have already started moving mods from the Nexus to the Steam Workshop, either in part or in full. Which, again, I don't agree with, and again, we'll find out in a few minutes why. And this is the biggest problem. The modders, these people who do all this hard work, for example with Skyrim at least, are only receiving 25% of the cost. Currently Valve receives 35%, for God knows why. I don't see why Valve should receive it because it's the same exact storefront as before, so why are they receiving such a large percentage? 35% is way too high for doing nothing at all. And Bethesda receive 40% of each mod. Now that is up to the publisher per game apparently, so some publishers, say Epic Games for example, they could say, oh, we only want 10% of the funds, in which case the other 30%, that 30% would probably go to the author, so they would get 55%, but Valve would still receive 35%. Valve's fee seems to be fixed, and Valve's fee is the most absurd thing in this percentage split essentially. I can understand the publisher or the game developer wanting some money. They shouldn't need it though, because with these big epic single player games like Skyrim for example, yes, there's no like an MMO, there's no microtransaction, there's nothing keeping the game funded as it goes along. But I don't agree with that, because some people are saying that, but I don't agree with that. They put a lot of money into making the game, but the amount of money they received when they first released the game made them abundant amount of money. Many times what they spent. They don't need extra funds. And you have to remember, these games have a long tail behind them. They have a long tail. You get a big spike on the release of sales, but look, in the case of Skyrim, people are still buying the game years after release, and that's a long tail stretching out of still profit, not as much as release, but they're still getting profit. So you have to remember that. It's not like the game releases and in the first few months all the sales are bought, because they're not. It continues in some cases for years. So I can see why they'd want a cut, but anything is like 40% is way too high. I think 10% is too high. Essentially, it's not your content, it's your game, but you have not helped the modders at all. Unless you're actually helping them, you don't deserve a penny. You have not helped them, you do not deserve a penny. No matter what publisher you are, Bethesda, Epic Games, I'm not what I'm saying, Epic Games is an example by the way. No matter what publisher you are, you don't deserve a penny, essentially. Unless you are helping in some way with the mods and helping to integrate them. Otherwise, why are you asking for money? It doesn't make sense. Because you've already got your money. You did what you did. So now people improving your game and fixing problems in your game, you expect money from them when they're doing your job? I don't think so, because most likely, some of these mods that were so great in Skyrim, you're probably going to introduce those features yourself in the Elder Scrolls 6, because you've seen how popular they are, and now you can rip those ideas off and place them in the game itself. And I guarantee you that will happen. We'll see something like that. Sure, you can trust me. You know that that's going to happen. They'd be stupid not to be quite honest, but that's what's going to happen. Valve shouldn't be receiving any money, not 1 cent. They should not be receiving anything, because they just don't. They've not done anything either. They've done less than the game developer, because they've not produced the game. They've just placed it on the workshop, which has always been there. And unlike YouTube, for example, we receive a 45% cut. Say if we make $500 in a month, right, from our YouTube videos and such. YouTube takes 45% of that. And then our networks take another percentage. In my case, they take 10%. And then we receive the remainder 90% of that 55% that was left over. But we can understand why YouTube does this. Because YouTube has to... Essentially, it has more maintenance duties. They have to use the servers, for example. Our videos can be getting viewed years after they're uploaded. And that creates a back end, essentially. So we can understand why YouTube does that. They need server space, the amount of videos and minutes that are uploaded to maintain it all. So even though it sucks, we can understand that. What we don't like about the Steam Workshop is it's always been there, it doesn't require much maintenance, and the quality control's horrible anyway. So why are they taking such a large cut? It doesn't make sense. So let's bring it down to this. A $10 mod, for example, the author would only get $2.50 per sale, which is abysmal. And from what I've heard so far, this bit of information right here could be old. They need to make $100 in profit before they can withdraw any funds at all. So this would mean they would have to sell $400 worth of content just to make their first withdrawal of $100. Which some people would fall short, right? Someone could sell, say, $350 worth of content, and then that could stop there. They could make no more money. That means that money they've got would never be able to be withdrawn. So, you know, it's basically going to be kept by Valve, essentially, until they make any more sales or any more mods. Now, that bit of information could be old and might have been changed, but for now, let's just base it on that, since that is current information. Now, like I said, game publishers might deserve a tiny bit, but Valve doesn't. The author definitely deserves more. So let's go down to what I really think. Will I pay to review the mods? Probably not. Not 100%, essentially. I'm not 100% on this. I doubt that I will, because I don't see it worth the investment. I know I should do. I know it's good for the channel, but I don't see it worth my investment. Because, again, I review these mods, but I don't want to keep them in most circumstances. I will not keep them, so I'm wasting money. It's not the case of someone... It's like... I will not buy a game just to review it. If I review a game, which I'm going to be starting soon, by the way, I've got plenty written out, I just need to film them. If I review a game, it's because I like the game. I don't review it because I bought it and I've reviewed it. And it could be horrible, of course, but I don't aim to buy games just so I can go, I'll buy that because I can review that game. I don't do that, so why should I do that for mods? I don't. I try mods because I think they're going to be good. Or because they've been requested. So why should I essentially waste money on buying loads of mods? If anything, the authors should be making review copies for people like me, Slytra, Fireworm, Gopher, Gamer Poets, etc, etc. We should be allowed to have review copies, essentially, because if they want... Because we're more important now than ever, believe it or not. We are more important. Because, like I mentioned earlier, the mods are behind a paywall. So we, as a reviewer, are more important than ever, because people are going to want to watch our videos to see what the mod's really about. Now, a quick showcase might not work like some channels do. You might have to do like an in-depth review, like me and Gopher do, for example. We normally dig into the mods really deeply, but some people, other channels, I'm not going to name any names, of course, just showcase certain mods and don't go into detail enough. And again, that's the same as looking at a screenshot. It doesn't really help you much. So people like us are really important now when it comes to really ripping the mod apart and really showing it all its guts to the people who are going to spend their hard-earned money on it. Now, even though I will buy some mods for that case, because I can't just let people stay hanging, I need to do a service for this and actually do legitly. I need to show people what these mods are in certain circumstances so people aren't ripped off, even though I'm getting ripped off in the progress. But it needs to be done. But in my opinion, these authors should see us now as more valuable to their success, because we are showing their mods in all their glory, if they are that glorious, that is. So we should receive review copies of their mods, essentially. That's my opinion on that. Just so we can review as many as possible, and so we're not out of pocket, essentially. But I don't see many authors doing that. I do know some good authors, and some of those authors would be more than willing to do so, if I'm quite honest, but some authors would probably say, F you, go buy it if you want to review it. But whatever, and it probably depends on who's reviewing it, if I'm quite honest. Some of us are more harsh than others. Some people like me don't mind saying a mod is crap when it is crap, or calling a mod out. I don't ride the shaft of any mod author, or any mod. I just don't agree with that. That's not the point of this channel. It's a review, not a showcase, so it's all about being honest. Now, I do admit, authors do definitely deserve to make money, because why the hell not? I know it's the internet, everything should be free, apparently. I mean, some people are pissed off that people on YouTube make money from videos. And if you ask those people why, they will generally say, oh, well, why should you be able to make money off YouTube videos when I've got to work a full-time job and I might make less than you do? it's like, why not? Go do it. You try it. Go do it. It's not as easy as it looks. Go try and do it. But why not? Just because it's a new kind of profession does not mean it shouldn't happen. Same with modders. Why shouldn't they be able to make money off their products? Essentially, most of these modders spend hours. They put their love, they put their heart and soul and skill into a mod and spend so much time on them. So why shouldn't they be allowed to make money from them? You are not entitled. The internet is entitled. You are not entitled to have them for free. But this is the way it doesn't work, because a paywall is stupid. The actual design of this paywall doesn't make sense to the authors. What does make sense, and one thing that's always been there on the Nexus, is a donation button. Authors should just accept donations, not that, because essentially, come on, if you're making $10 per mod, you're only getting $2.50 of that. While if people on the Nexus, for example, if they donated $3 to you, you're still making more than you would do if they paid $10 on the workshop. Now, this comes down to the user though. Users, let's be honest, most people don't donate to mod authors. They might sing the praises of the mod. It's the best mod ever. It's made my game brilliant again. Do they pay them any money? Do they donate? In the vast majority, they don't. Quite frankly, let's be honest, they don't. You should. Even if it's a small amount, you can do it over PayPal. It's quite anonymous. It's simple to do. Even if you're donating 10 cents, it adds up. Seriously, the mod author would appreciate it. Even if you should give as much as you can afford to what you got back from the mod. Just like if you bought a game. So if you got a mod that you really enjoyed and it really gave you pleasure playing it, and it really extended your game time, think about how much you enjoyed that and how much that affected your gameplay, and then think of how much you can afford to give to the author for their work. It doesn't have to be as soon as you download the mod, it could be a year after. Depends whenever you decide you think the mod is worth the money now, and just give them a donation. You could even give them several donations. Like if you think the mod's worth $10 but you can't afford to give them $10 in one go, you could give them $1 per month in donations like that. You could spread your donations out. It's so much better system, and they receive most of it. PayPal only takes like 1% or 2% of donations or something like that. So it's much better to do that than for them to receive 25% of your money. If you're paying for a mod and you want that money to go to them, do you want 75% of that to go to Bethesda, the publishers, and Valve? Really? Do you really want the money to go to them, or do you want it to go to the author? The person's doing all the work, the person who has made your gaming experience better. It should go to the author. And let me be honest, I can count less than 10 mods that I would probably pay for, and the rest I simply don't need. Like textures, Medium Born, great work, beautiful work, but do I really need those textures? If I was forced to pay for each mod, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't use those textures. I wouldn't. I'd stick to the simple high-resolution textures that Bethesda provides. Even though they're not the best, I would stick to them, quite frankly. Because I don't see why I should pay for textures. They are a work of art, I admit, but textures to me aren't an integral part of my gameplay, so I don't see why I should pay for them. That is just my opinion there, but it's such things like that. In my opinion, it has to be gameplay. A proper gameplay, like Requiem, for example. I can't really play Skyrim by itself these days because it's too boring, it's too easy. While Requiem actually makes the game harder. It makes it a challenge, makes it fun. Would I pay for it? I'm on the fence really, because I've not played it too long. I've only played about 10 hours worth of Requiem altogether, so I can't say if I would really put my money into it. But eventually, that's probably a mod I would definitely pay for. But I wouldn't do it behind the paywall. If the mod author placed that onto the workshop and started charging for it, I would simply keep my old version of the mod, and I would not pay for it if I had to. I would just rather not use the mod. I'd donate to them eventually, but I would not pay for it behind a paywall, because I don't agree with the cut percentage, and I do not agree with the actual workshop itself and how it does business. That is quite simply there. So that's something that mod authors should bring into account. Out of principle, I personally, if I was a normal person, would not buy your mod in the workshop, because you aren't getting the full amount of money. You know? So it's kind of under the table dealings going on that needs to go down. But speaking of that, there have already been piracy. I'm not going to mention which mods, but apparently I've been reading up on this. There have been piracy already of mods. People have been buying mods and placing them on, I don't know, probably torrent sites already because they have been pirated. So they're already being done because only one person's got to buy the mod and it can be copied and spread. I don't support piracy in any kind of way when it comes to games, but it's already happening with mods. So can you see how bad the situation is? If that's happening already, do you really want that, or do you want your mod to be free with donations, or do you want people to be pirating it? Because you're getting the same result regardless. So wouldn't you rather have the community be more thankful of you and actually giving you donations as opposed to ransoming your content, so to speak, for a small pittance of money? You deserve money. You really do. Most mod authors deserve the money, but not in this way. Just stick to donations. The old way worked the best. People have just got to donate more. If anything, this situation will have made people more aware to the fact that they should be donating to mod authors so they don't put their content on sites like the workshop. It should be spurring people on now to really think and really donate to mods they like now. Because that's what should happen. And quite frankly, smaller mods, like you see sword mods and stuff all the time, or really armor mods and such, they're not going to sell as much as they should do because people don't care about them. When people look at Hoth Troopers armors, for example, they're like, yeah, these are cool, these are awesome. But that's when they're free. People won't pay for those. A vast majority will not pay for them. And most people have already downloaded them anyway, so they've got them. So why would they again pay for it? They're not going to do that. Donations work best to basically end that donation part right there, because you're getting screwed on the workshop as a mod author. So just stick to donations, I beg of you. Now, Gaben himself was on Reddit, basically, answering questions, but all his comments were downvoted so much, you had to sort them to find his own comments. And bless his heart, he tried his best. But in this situation, people are painting him as a bad guy. Valve has been painted as a bad guy, and I can see why. Now, he did mention authors can set their own minimum pay rate on the workshop, even at $0, for example. So you could say, right, minimum you have to pay for my mod is 50 cents, but you can pay whatever you want on the workshop. That's good. But again, if you paid someone $1, they're only getting 25 cents. Again, it doesn't make sense. Use donations. Paywalls really do not work with mods, and they never will, in my opinion. It's an experiment, and it's going to fail. It's backlashing already, and I just don't see this being a good thing for the community. Donations, yes. People just need to donate more. They really do. But overall, there's other issues as well. A litany of them which I don't want to get into, but an example would be compatibility issues. You know well and true, mods conflict. Quite a few do. You could have, say, a $5 mod you've paid for, and then you could buy another $5 mod. Oops, they don't work with each other, the authors aren't planning on making compatibility patches, and you just lost a $5, because you've got to choose between one or the other. That sucks, right? It really just sucks. You could download a free mod that's really great, but it could break 3 of your paid mods and losing you $15 as the example $5 price tag. You see how many problems there is? There's tons. Not to mention all the copyright issues we've mentioned before. So really, the backlash is real. It's here. It's already happening. And I believe the entire idea of this is absolutely stupid. Authors do deserve to be paid, but not like this. Too long, don't listen. Authors, switch back to the Nexus. Keep it as donations only. This incident, if anything, will spur people more to donate to you rather than keep it on the workshop. It seriously will. Just mention in your descriptions, donate. It helps a lot because it really does. And people, when they see that, they will more likely do it. If you don't mention donations, people aren't going to think about donations. It's how people work. So that's all I've got to say about this. It was much longer than I wanted it to be. But when you're ranting about stuff like this, it has to be said. This was objective and professional with a lace of a bit of my opinion. But this is what I thought about the entire situation thus far. I would say I'm interested to see your opinions because I am. But I've seen so many, I've probably seen your opinion already. This situation is just so crazy. So, yeah, if you have got an opinion or if you agree or disagree with mine, just place a comment down below. And I will see you guys next time.